Why are you counting it? It's part two.
Oh, fucking hell. Whatever. Welcome back to the TMCJ Podcast. We are on to segment 2, media, and I am already fucking up the intro.
Yeah, and I'm high on coffee.
Oh my god. Me having
great,
my non-caffeinated herbal tea.
Like an old man.
I don't know. I love this stuff. I already bought another case of it that's going to be coming soon.
Yeah. You're more English than I am, I think.
I
mean, I drink coffee, which you don't.
Yeah.
Wait, do you drink coffee?
No, I've only drank coffee twice in my life. Once when I was really young, and my parents were having some, and I just decided to try it. I hated it.
Yeah. I feel like it's more American.
It probably is.
That's because it's attachments to Italy.
It's funny. You say it's more. The other time I drank it was on the business trip I took earlier this year to Japan. For the audit. Like, we were out in kind of rural Japan. They don't get a lot of
not Japan again.
Well, just no. They don't get a lot of visitors from outside of Japan, or at least outside of Asia in general, because they specialized mostly. The business we were going there to look at specialized mostly in doing stuff within Japan.
Right.
And so they served all of us coffee, and they were I don't want to say proud, but they're like, oh, we got you American coffee, and they were like, because they just assumed that that's what all Americans drank, and that would be so. And American coffee is actually a blend of coffee in Japan, and they mean like U.S. American, and it's essentially just very strong black coffee.
Yeah.
So I drank that, but honestly just to be polite. And oh my god, was it heavily caffeinated, because I don't drink coffee, so that much caffeine, I could see my pulse in my eyeballs.
Yeah, holy shit.
God.
Man. Well, talking of drinks, actually. Well, okay, this is meant to be the media.
It's the media segment. I do have things to talk about, but
yes, we do.
So two things that I did this week. I started and didn't finish yet watching the 3 original Lord of the Rings movies, the extended cuts, which holy shit, each one of those is like 4 hours long.
Really?
Yeah, the extended cuts are like seriously when they say extended, like the first one I think clocks in at like 2.5 hours in the normal version, but the extended cut is close to 4. The second one is like right around 4, and the last one is like 4 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the last one yet, but I have been rewatching the movies. It's been quite a long time since I've seen them.
Wait, so is there like the raiding of the Shire and stuff? Do you see all that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't remember them going back and talking about the Shire at all. But there are like some extra scenes with some side characters. There's some longer conversations, more like context and world building, essentially, that aren't necessary to the plot, but they kind of add to the whole world.
I think I've said it before, because when we watched movie night, which we need to talk about, by the way, but we've seen quite a few of these extended cut films, and I really like in an audio, in a book, I always like the full version with everything, all the small details.
Yeah.
In movies, I generally prefer the cut down version.
Yeah, I'm mostly on board with that. For some reason though, the Lord of the Rings stuff, it just, because of how extensive the books were, and I didn't realize that. I saw the movies before the books. I was never like into Tolkien or anything when I was younger. I did see the movies with my friends when they came out, but I never read the books until, honestly, just a couple of years ago. I listened to the audiobooks for the first 2. But yeah, I don't know. It's just because of the way and how extensive those books were. It felt appropriate to watch the extended cut for the movies. But I will say it's a lot.
It's a journey.
Like each one of the movies because a while back on Amazon when they were on sale, I got the Blu-ray box for them. like the original trilogy for the extended cuts, and each extended cut is divided into 2 Blu-rays. So watching through, and each one is like at least an hour and a half, 2 hours. And yeah, it's an enormous thing. It's like watching half of one of the movies is now watching a whole movie.
Right. Jeepers.
That's why I still
I
haven't
don't
finished
think
it.
I've seen any of the extended Lord of the Rings. I feel like Lord of the Rings I'd quite like, though, because I think I've always just been a massive Lord of the Rings fan in general. Especially with they kind of reignited my, I was going to say passion for it, that might be a bit of a strong word, but with the Shadow of Mordor. Very good game.
Oh God, I got that game years ago, and I never actually, I didn't beat it. I enjoyed the game a lot, but it was one that I never played the whole way through.
I don't think the story was really like where it was at though. It was just the idea of like basically making your own government out of orcs.
Yeah.
Which was the fun part of it.
The subtle political manipulations that you can do.
Yeah. And they each have like their own characters, and if there's one that keeps getting the shit kicked out of him and he keeps coming back to life with like another body part missing. Sorry, that sounds a bit violent to the people who are listening, but it doesn't look grim. It's just like, oh, this person, I don't know, you kicked him in the face last time, so he's got like a metal faceplate now, kind of thing.
Yeah, or even then, like later, can't you get like sleeper agents and stuff that you can get? Like you can get your little pet orc on charge, and then you have an inn or something like that.
So if there's like a super warlord, and he has 2 warlords below him, which are like his toadies, if you defeat the toadies and I was gonna say enslave,
install,
brand them. Well, wow, this just sounds worse. That they're orcs, alright? You get them onto your side, onto your team, but they still pretend to be this warlord's toady, so that when you go and fight the super warlord, they stab him in the back. It's very...
There's a lot of
cool
subtlety and strategy in the game that I think elevates it above the kind of generic open world thing that it... The other thing I really liked about the game, because it is open world, but it's not a very big open world, and I think that kind of adds to it. Like everything you need to get to, it's all very tight and compact. Like it feels more packed with content, whereas like you see some open world games, they're like, you know, bragging that they have like 100 square miles of stuff in the game, but most of it is just filler. All that really means is it just takes you longer from get to point A to point B.
There were bad parts of the game, and unfortunately, it was one of the bad points that EA decided to like expand on. I don't think the second game was very good, but the first game definitely top notch. Which was the dwarf. I can't remember his name. He annoyed me, and he just gave really boring hunting quests. And it was just always the next level of creature up. So it would start with a regular wolf, then it'd go to a mega wolf, then it'd go to a troll, then a mega troll, then they were just boring.
It's like, can I just hunt the last one and and never talk to you again?
Yeah, I don't want to deal with the wild animals. I want to deal with the politics.
Yeah,
they chose to expand it into a big DLC, and it was,
yeah, not really a thing. There's a few games like that where that's always the tricky bit with the whole open world thing, is if they've packed the game with so much different stuff and a ton of people liked it, they're like, oh well, when we expand it, they might expand it in a direction that like 80% of the audience didn't like or something like that.
Yeah.
It's always the risk with packing so much crap into your game.
Yeah. But returning to the media segment. Oh, wait, is there anything else Lord of the Rings based you wanted to mention?
No, there are so many actors in it that I didn't know at the time, because this came out in like 2000. It was 2001, 2002, and 2003 was when the 3 movies came out. And excellent for the time. Some of it's some of the CGI. I'm looking back at it. I'm like, okay, that's a little iffy. But again, it was early 2000s.
Yeah. To this day, I don't think anything has really come out that tops either Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. Like, that was a golden age.
Yeah, of those, the original stuff. It's absolutely gorgeous. The writing is excellent. Like, the inner character, like, dialogue. Like, they were written well, and just, like, they're... You know how sometimes you're watching a movie and you see two characters and they get into a conflict purely because it seems like whoever was writing the story was like, we need some drama here. That doesn't really happen in these movies at all. Whenever there's like an inner character conflict or where they're talking with each other and it looks like something bad is going to happen or there's a rift between characters, it happens naturally. It feels appropriate that those things are happening at that time, and then the way they're kind of meted out and then resolved all flows very well. It seems very, very well written.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. With a franchise like that, it's had so many games and like, I think it's even had, like, Star Wars had loads of comic books come out about it, particularly around the Clone Wars and stuff like that. I'm waiting for the day that the new Star Wars / Lord of the Rings comes out.
I don't think, Lord of the Rings, they're probably not going to be, the guy who wrote him Tolkien's dead, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, the new... something that can live up to their name.
I see what you're saying. Like, not necessarily Lord of the Rings, but like...
No. Because, I mean, Lord of the Rings and Star Wars are vastly apart. Like, one's magical and old, the other is new and scientific.
Well, in a way, but they're both... Star Wars more... I would argue Star Wars closer to space fantasy rather than, like, hard sci-fi.
There is magic in Star Wars, being the Force.
Yeah.
But I see it as a shiny new Apple-like product as opposed to Lord of the Rings, which has like age and wisdom.
Yeah, mystical.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of old-fashioned knights and swords and shit.
Yes.
This week's media. What's the word I'm looking for? Movie night.
Yeah, our movie. Yeah, movie night.
Was Knight's Tale.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I watched when I was... It was something that we had on VHS, and I remember not being old enough to watch it when we got it. For like years I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally did get to watch it, I found it completely hilarious. Yeah, it's like, what, 2000... when did it come out?
I want to say it was 2000. Maybe 2002.
I think it might have been before that.
Either way, it was a movie that I'd never seen. And even watching it now, though, I thought that movie was amazing. There were quite a few moments, too, where I was laughing pretty hard at it.
Yeah, and it's got to the point now where it's like, ooh, you can say that these days.
Well, yeah.
But it was just a funny joke, but you know, the whole women, huh? Joke that happened throughout it.
Oh my god. There was a so to give a brief plot synopsis, the movie takes place sometime in medieval Europe, and it follows the tale of this group of 3 squires, essentially, who were with a knight, and before like a jousting tournament, he dies of some not really specified cause.
Yeah, midway through the tournament, he gets hit by pretty hard, and then he gets knocked down before the final round.
No, I'm talking... What? No, I'm talking about the guy that they were originally serving.
Yeah. He gets... They were... That's why he said they just have to not be unseated because he'd already got a bunch of points.
Yeah, he'd already got a
he
bunch of points, but I'm talking about how he died. I think the exact quote from the movie was, "What are we supposed to say? He shed himself to death," or something like that, because he'd like fallen asleep against a tree and just died.
Yeah, I think that was from a wound, but I could be wrong.
Okay, I didn't think it was from a wound. I thought it was just some
illness, maybe.
Random, unspecified. It doesn't matter. Guy dies, and one of the squires who like really, who used to practice with him and stuff like that, decides to impersonate him and win the tournament, himself, right? And by impersonating the knight, but it's quickly specified that if he's ever found out that he's doing this, he's not of noble blood and he's participating in a joust, then penalty is death or something, like maybe not death, but something very severe.
Oh, it would be death, yeah.
Yeah, okay, death. Anyway, so it follows them as this trio, and eventually they add 2 other people to their little party there. As he goes through and becomes like this jousting champion, there's other conflicts along the way. Like they have to find a way to keep his identity concealed. There's other kinds of subplots and everything. There's a lot of really, really good side stories that kind of branch off from that main path. But it's very, very good movie. A lot of funny moments. And a lot of like heartwarming moments too.
Yeah, I'll never get past that scene with the meeting the father again is just so.
Yeah,
he did that so well.
Yep. Yeah, there's a family reunion moment in the movie that is just it's a tearjerker.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's
also sorry.
No, go on.
I was just gonna say also if you're not even into any of that, horse jousting is just fucking cool to watch.
Yeah, and they do a really good job with the stunts in the movie, like actually doing the joust.
Yeah, the shattered lance is very.
Yeah, although I loved that. So there was a bunch of trivia that I was looking up after the movie because I pulled it up on IMDb and I wanted to see. There were a few actors I vaguely recognized. I'm like, I know I've seen these people somewhere before. And while I was there, I was looking at some of the trivia, and some of it's hilarious. Like the sound effect they used for the shattering lance was actually the sound of a howitzer being fired. They just slowed it down. Oh, you remember when his helmet gets like crushed in the one scene? That actually was an accident.
Oh, really?
The guy who was coming at him like had his lance misaligned for the stunt and actually hit him in the face and knocked out the stunt actor.
Oh, fucking hell!
And so they decided to keep the cut and just roll with it because that was the coolest looking one. Yeah,
I mean you can't imitate that very easily.
No.
Not that in 2001 at least.
Yeah, so that was the act or the stuntman really getting hit in the face with a lance.
Yeah, fuck.
Actually, going back to Lord of the Rings, there's another bit of trivia I remember from. There's a scene, I want to say in the first one, where this orc guy throws a knife at the one of the main actors, and he's supposed to like dodge it in the script, but the stuntman who was throwing the knife, and it was a real throwing knife, screwed up his throw, and so it was going right at the actor's face, but he used his prop sword to deflect it. Just on reflex, and that was the cut that they actually kept in the movie because it looked so cool. But that was a real knife going at the real actor's face, and he used a prop sword to like deflect it.
Can you imagine how pissed you'd be if you like deflected a real life knife that was going at your head, and you're like, nah, we can't use that.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. As the actor, you'd be like, yeah, we need to keep that cut.
Mom, get the camera.
Find a way to keep that cut. But yeah, some of the weird like accidental things in movies, I feel like always end up being some of the best. Like That's one of my favorite things is when I find out like a scene or a joke in a movie was either improv or accidental. Going back to A Knight's Tale, there's that scene where Chaucer is going out and he's giving this big grandiose speech, and then he stops and no one applauds, and then somebody in the background goes yeah, and then everyone starts cheering. But the reason behind that was because most of the extras in the scene were they didn't speak English, and so they had no idea if they were supposed to clap or not yet. And the guy in the background saying yeah was like the director or someone to try and get them to go.
Yeah, it made for a good scene.
Yeah. Oh, God. So, if nothing else to talk about that movie, I did have one other bit of media. We've talked about movies and games quite a bit. Book series that I've been listening to. So, given my normal, restlessness with how things are arranged in my condo, I completely rearranged all my furniture again. I'm really liking this new setup, but while I was doing it, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to have internet while I'm moving things around because the router's going to be unplugged. So I'll listen to an audiobook. That'll be something fun to do while I'm moving. Just something to have on in the background to listen to. So I had this audiobook by Orson Scott Card, who I've heard his name before, and I know he's done like other books, but for the life of me, I cannot remember what else he's done. Anyway, the book is part of a series, and it's the first one in the series. It's called Earth Unaware, and it's like a not too distant future sci-fi book, and it follows so far it's following 3 different plot lines, or 3 different main character groups. One is this group of miners, like independent miner families that live out in the Kuiper Belt, like past Pluto's orbit, where they mine asteroids and send shipments back, and that's how they make their money. But because of how far out they are and how far apart everything is out there, they kind of have their own separate society where a ship is like 80 people and it's all families, and they have rules about you're not supposed to really marry anyone from your own ship or from like too closely related, because again they have a very small population out there. So they wait for other families' ships to come by, and then they'll trade with them, and occasionally do arranged marriages between the ships. And so it's very like, think like very very how do I put this? It's like sci-fi technology is advanced to the point where something as crazy as living on a self-sufficient spaceship way out past Pluto is something that's just normal run-of-the-mill for the working class, like an interplanetary ship is like a Honda pickup truck. And then it also follows this corporate ship that's out there testing some new mining technology and stuff like that. And then it also follows back on Earth this Special Forces Army unit. And I can kind of see how they're all going to come together. But what is found out early on is something is coming into the solar system, as something moving at a significant fraction of the speed of light and is heading in system. And they quickly come to the conclusion that this has to be some kind of technology, not of Earth, essentially.
I gotcha.
And judging from what the series is called, I think that it's probably going to end up being like humans versus aliens war, essentially.
Right. What was the series called again?
So the first book is called Earth Unaware, and the series is called The First Formic War.
Okay.
Or Formic War. I don't know. It starts with an F, and it ends with Onic.
Yeah.
The First Formic War.
Formic.
Formic. Formic.
Okay. Well, yes, but that is an assumption that there's going to be some kind of fight. Then, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And they kind of allude to it throughout the first few chapters, but I really am enjoying it because it's a bit of a slow burn at the beginning, but they do it right. Like, they start off like kind of introducing these three disparate groups, and they do a lot of world building just by showing interpersonal dialogue and some of the things that they're doing and talking to each other about. They do a very, very good job world building, and they don't rush into like the action. Like, planets don't need to be blowing up in the first 5 minutes. Like the entire most of the first chapter is one of the younger ship's mechanics being scolded by the captain, essentially, for like that's literally like the first half hour of the book.
Because they're fairly deep into the social aspect of living on a ship, by the sounds of it.
Exactly. And I really liked that world because it does seem to be a very well thought out and easily kind of understandable world that they've built up. So I'm really enjoying it. I've already bought the second audiobook because I know that I'm going to keep listening to this one, and I'm going to keep going after it because it's really got me hooked.
I still got to make you read Red Rising. I know I bring it up a lot, but goddamn, I got to make you read that shit.
Red Rising Hood?
Red...
I'm sorry, I'm just being sarcastic. What?
Wow. You who hates puns says something like that. For shame.
I don't... I'm looking it up now because I actually don't remember us talking about this. Red Rising. Darrow is red, a member of the lowest caste in the color-coded society of the future. Like his fellow Reds, he works all day, believing that he and his people are making the surface of Mars livable for future generations.
It's another sci-fi social thing. So society's been divided up into several different classes, and at the bottom of the pile, like reds and browns, and at the top there's like the golds, who are literally physically superior and mentally superior, I suppose.
That's gonna...
They get better education.
You know what that reminds me of? This is gonna be super nerdy, and if I doubt Duncan actually listens to this, but if he does, in 40K, the Tau.
Yeah.
They're like a society that have different castes to the point where the castes have evolved physical differences from each other.
Right. Are they all like the blue people, right? We're talking about.
Yeah, because they have the different castes, and some of them are more physically imposing. Some have like greater mental capacity, but they're physically atrophied and stuff like that. So just when you said that sounds interesting. I'm going to, well, in between segments, I think I'm going to add this to my wish list.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's something I can highly recommend. I've read there was a trilogy which was really good, and then they kind of continued it, and I don't think the fourth book is as good. But then your luck has to run out at some point.
Hey, we could talk about Mass Effect again.
God,
the trilogy was good, and then.
I saw Mass Effect just recently because of the bloody ship video I was watching before this. With a bunch of massive spaceships on it.
I was talking to a friend Juan, and he hasn't played any of the Mass Effect games, but he just played Andromeda.
Yeah.
And it's the only one he's played, and he enjoyed it. And we were kind of discussing this, and I was thinking why. Because now that it's been patched and they've fixed most of the glitches, the gameplay loop in it is actually pretty fun. Like, it's polished, you got the jetpacks, the mobility.
Polished? Andromeda?
Yeah, they've done a lot. Like, since
polished turd?
Since it came out in 2016, was it 2016 or 2017? Whenever it came out, they've done a lot to fix all the glitchiness. So the combat was always its strongest point, because it was very well polished. They had a lot of mobility. You could jump around with a jetpack. Like, the shooting felt like chunky and satisfying. But people who played the original Mass Effect games knew that they were there for the story. They come to this one, and the story is just a fucking dog turd. So I think that's what it was. Because if I were to play just that game and go through, I was like, oh, it's mediocre story, fun shooter, and I just would play it and forget about it. But because the story is so ass compared to the original 3 games, I think that's why it garnered such harsh criticism. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it had a lot to live up to. I think overhype is definitely a big problem these days, especially with the amount of social media, because you've got to advertise, but you don't almost want to over-advertise.
Yeah. That's because when you do that, that's when, because no matter if you like hype something up that much, it doesn't matter if it's a movie, book, video game, TV show, if it gets hyped to all high heavens, then no matter what, when people see it, it's going to be hard to impress them. It's rare that you hit that perfect, combination of, this is going to be amazing, this is going to be the greatest thing you've ever seen, and then you actually go, and it is the greatest thing you've ever seen. That's so exceptionally rare.
Yeah. I actually get that quite a bit of movies when people are like, this is an incredible movie. And I'm always dubious because I'm just a cynical bastard. But there have been a few times where I've been like, holy shit, this is actually amazing. Like, I remember when I was a kid, and man, there's a lot of stories from my childhood today. When the first time I ever watched Black Books, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I was told, my dad came home one day, he's like, oh, it's a really funny series about an Irish guy that runs a bookstore. And to like 12-year-old me or whatever, I was like, that sounds boring as all hell. And then I watched it, I was like, oh my god, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's almost better to just like underhype something. Just go like, oh, that's pretty good. And then you watch it and I was like, oh, that was great.
Yeah. I think it's the same for games as well. I think a lot more of my friends would have enjoyed Payday 2 if I hadn't played it like 1,000 hours of it and been like, it's amazing, you got to play it.
Yeah.
Because now no one plays it.
I think so this is a bit of a throwback, but when it first came out, I played a ton of Anthem. Mostly it was, I think the party we had, it was me, Mass, Yi, and one of Yi's coworkers. And the that was our 4-man squad for the most part. We played through it. I also, Juan had it, I think, played through it with him. I want to say Raymond had it too, but it was a good game. Like, I didn't pay attention. There was apparently a lot of hype around it. I didn't pay attention to any of it. And so when I played it, I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun. You get to fly around and pretend to be Iron Man. Like, it was satisfying gameplay. The flying was a lot of fun. The mechanics around flying and keeping your suit cool and everything were simple, but, like, satisfying. It was one of those things that was, like, really, really easy to pick up and learn, but then, it was, I don't know, just, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it... Yeah, that was... Sorry.
Yeah,
the first... Around the time that Anthem came out, I think it was also at the time that there was another really bad... I think it might have been Fallout 76 came out at the same time. And so everyone was on this warpath. And Anthem had a few glitches from what I heard.
Yeah.
And it got the shit ripped out of it for having them. I liked the look of the game.
Well, that was the other thing. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Like it was too much money for me to buy a game that I know is glitchy.
Yeah, but I think it was, especially now if the game's cheaper and they're still doing it. I've got it installed and I've been thinking about going back and playing it again, just to fly around in the game, because just flying around, and it made doing silly grinding quests actually kind of enjoyable, which is hard for a game like that. Anyway, I'm going off talking about nostalgia stuff now. We're at 34 minutes. Any final things you want to bring up from media before we end the segment?
I don't know. No, I don't. That's not been much. I haven't watched much new stuff this week, to be honest. Whose turn is it for the movie week next? It's yours, isn't it?
It's my choice. Yeah, I've got quite a few things that I've been considering. Now I just have to actually pick one.
Any cheeky spoilers for what it might be?
Well, okay, so there's a few. One of the ones that's on my list that I really love the movie. And I don't know if you've seen it, but the movie Troy.
Troy, no, I have not.
It's pretty good.
I feel like that's a fairly old one that I've heard of.
Yeah, early to mid 2000s, I want to say.
Yeah.
But pretty excellent movie. And of course, it follows the saga of the Trojan War.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of leaning towards right now. Do really love the movie.
Yeah, I do like historical films, even if they are like mythos historical.
Well, that one, they don't put any mythology around it. They actually try to stay as historically accurate as possible, with a couple exceptions. The actual, mild spoiler for the movie, although this isn't really, the actual Trojan War lasted it was a 10-year siege against the city of Troy, but
ending with the horse.
In the movie, they shorten it so it only lasts for like a few months. And
they end the 10-year. They shorten the 10-year war. Oh my god.
They make it out. There's actually they make a line, or they make a reference to that. The fact that they're doing that, kind of a little nudge wink to the audience in one scene, where the guy commanding the armies, like somebody who's giving the guy counsel is like, Troy is well supplied and well defended. It's like they could hold out for 10 years behind those walls, and then the guy's like, there won't be a 10-year siege, and it's just like it's just but it's like kind of a nudge wink to the people who actually know the history.
That he was talking about, like, they're just going to destroy them, kind of thing.
yeah, people who don't know the history would think that, but people who do, it's like, oh, okay, they're at least acknowledging that they're shortening it.
Yeah.
All right. We're 7 minutes over, so that's where we're gonna end segment 2. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again soon.